And welcome to another episode of Experts Speak. I'm Michael DeLon, and today I am talking with Michael Roderick of Small Pond Enterprises. Michael, thanks for taking some time to be with me today and chat.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Well, you're welcome. This is really going to be a cool conversation. So for listeners and viewers alike, Michael went from being a high school teacher to a Broadway producer in under 2 years. So we want to hear a little bit about that. But that experience really, it eventually developed into a workshop where he taught people about networking. And then that grew into a full-time consulting practice. And that became Small Pond Enterprises, where today Michael helps business owners learn how to, as I call it, fish in bigger ponds by building relationships with other people. And that's really, Michael, it's a key strategy that we use in our business to market and to grow our relationships and our strategies. Too many times business owners don't think about that, or they don't do that because they're chasing the next shiny object, going to the next social media platform or whatever it is. So I want you to unpack this a little bit, but give us a snapshot of school teacher, Broadway, consulting. How did all that take place, and give us a snapshot of who you are?
Sure. So in essence, Broadway is an industry that is really focused on raising money, right? So shows cannot happen without capital. And one of the things that I had learned when I started to look at the industry itself was the fact that most producers and most people who are aspiring producers go to producers at higher levels, and they basically say, I'll raise this amount of money for you if I can get credit, right? So basically it starts as, it almost starts in this sort of transactional place, right? It's sort of the model that exists. So I did something different. And I went to a bunch of producers and I said, I don't actually care about credit right now. I want to get better at raising money. And I want to do a lot of raising. Like, I want to work on multiple shows as opposed to just sort of hoping that one is going to hit. Yeah. And because I wasn't asking for credit, because I wasn't saying like I want anything really out of this other than the experience of getting better at raising money, a bunch of producers gave me their paperwork and said, yeah, knock yourself out, right? Because it was no skin off their nose, right? It was no problem for them. But the thing that happened with that was when I would go to investors, whereas most of the other producers would only have one show that they were pitching, I had a portfolio. So I was able to say, okay, well, that's not a fit. Maybe you might like this one, or maybe you might like that one. I always had sort of a nice range of things. So I got far more meetings. I ended up raising money for a lot of these producers. And because I had proved myself from that sort of credibility standpoint, right? People saw that I was able to raise the money. Word got around, and eventually I was approached by another producer who basically said, okay, I've seen that you know how to raise money. I've seen that you can actually do it. So I want you to raise money on this project, and I want to offer you credit if you're able to, raise this amount. And I did. I found a team. I got, a group of people together. We raised the amount of money that I needed to raise, and I got my first Broadway credit. And then from there, folks just kind of kept coming to me and offering me other opportunities. Or I would sort of be threading other Broadway producers together and sort of connecting aspiring producers to more established producers, and that's really how it all kind of worked. I looked at the industry and basically said, okay, what is everybody doing, and then is there something that is not being done? Sort of what are the gaps here? What are the things that people aren't thinking of? And that's really, what made it work, I would say.
Yeah. And it's really interesting. And I hope people caught what you just said, because you told us that you went in not with an agenda, in a sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so many times as we're building relationships and doing what we call in our business OPN, marketing with other people's networks, right? Mm-hmm. So case in point, Michael, you got a network of people who follow you, right? Some
Yes.
of them could be ideal clients for us.
Mm-hmm.
And I could have reached out to you and say, hey, Michael, I'm a book publisher and I think you, right, and let's do a deal. I could have done that. And you would have said, yeah, whatever. Or I could say, hey, Michael, I want you on my podcast because I love what you say and it reinforces what I say. And maybe somewhere down the road, we'll do some business together. I don't know, but right now, I don't care about that. I want to prop you up and say, listen to this guy because he's got the goods. He's done it. But you led with no agenda. And when business owners understand that, you need to start a relationship with the other person's interest 100% in mind.
Yes. Yeah. And what you're bringing up is there's a lot of very bad networking oriented education out there, right? There's just a lot of stuff that is not very useful and in some cases can be damaging. And one of the biggest is what I like to refer to as worshiping the god of reciprocity. And it's this dynamic where your networking advice is sort of presented in this context of like, do things for people and then they will want to do things for you. So just like go out and do things for people. But the thing is, everybody has both a different reciprocity impulse and a different reciprocity timeline. So there are some of us who, if we receive something, our reciprocity impulse is so strong that we're like, I just got to give you something back because to me, it feels like a hot potato, right?
Yep.
And then there are others who I'm happy to receive. Everything's totally cool. I have no desire. I don't really feel like giving anything back, right? And the thing is, you never know where, that person is. And then on the flip side of that, there is the reciprocity timeline where there are a lot of people who have been burned in any one of these sort of, relationships. Yeah. So there are people who basically say, I'm not going to do anything for a month, 2 months, a year, because I want to see whether or not you actually follow through on the things that you say you're going to do if I'm going to expose you to my network, right?
Absolutely. Because you're putting your name on the line when you're bringing me to your group, and people forget that.
Yeah, exactly. All the time.
And you've worked long and hard to build your reputation with your audience. Heaven forbid you bring some scoundrel in to go, well, I recommend Michael, and Michael's a what?
Yep.
So I think that's awesome that delayed gratification, that if you've got somebody approaching you that needs to do a deal this week, it's probably better to pass.
Yeah. Honestly. It's so tricky to enter into a relationship that is entirely sort of in that sort of transactional kind of world, even if the other person's great, because you just don't know what level of risk there is involved. Like you haven't actually vetted the person. So, it almost makes, so one of my biggest pet peeves is if people open a conversation with, how can I help you? Mm-hmm. Right. And the reason for that is that if you open a conversation with, how can I help you? You don't even know me yet. And you're offering to make intros to your network, or you're offering to do something, for me. So I'm asking myself, why? Yeah. And if you don't know me yet, you have no idea what I am about. Like I could be selling puppies on the black market. You have no idea. Right. But yet you're going to open up your entire, you're going to open up your network to me, or you're going to try and sort of present, value or whatever the scenario is right at the initial sort of interaction. So I always tell people, like, you don't open with, how can I help you? Because you end up making somebody else feel like you're already assuming they're at a lower level than you. Right? Like that you're already, it's like, oh, well, how can I help you? How can I fix your thing? Right. Yeah. And it's so much more important to actually just have a conversation, listen to the other person, listen to what they communicate they need or what they're looking for, and be able to make suggestions as to what could potentially help them than going into this world. Now, the thing is, every once in a while, you're going to have some people, they're not going to be, you're going to have something where it's like, oh, well, I can't really tell what their challenge is or what they're dealing with. But if you've taken the time to get to know them, at the end, you can say, listen, it seems like everything's going great. But I'm just curious, is there anything else that you're focused on right now? Is there anything that you're trying to sort of accomplish or do, anything that would be helpful at this stage in the game? And again, that just kind of lays it on the table of like, if you want to let me know what's actually going on and what you could, where you could use support, I'm happy to keep an eye out, right? And it's so low pressure, as opposed to being like, I'm expecting you right now to come up with what you need from me so that we can start this, this relationship, basically.
Yeah, no, totally. And the thing that you just did there is diffusing the pressure by giving them control, really. To say, is there anything I can do? And they might say, well, nothing I can think of. All right, well, that's totally cool, Michael. Let's stay in touch. And you walk away and you leave it there. You don't force those relationships. Some of my best relationships in business have come not at the beginning, not at the first conversation, but usually months down the road at some weird juncture that something just happened, right? And it really wasn't even planned. And now because of the trust that we built, the rest takes care of itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not a magic formula, is it?
No. And that's the thing. I'm a very, very big believer in frameworks over formulas. If I tell you how to do something, if I say like, this is how you do it, this is what you say, you're just going to sound like a bootleg version of me. It's not going to work. But if I give you a framework, if I give you a way to think about this, then you can bring yourself to the conversation, right? You can bring your own personality and you're not using my words, right? And that's the thing. There's so much out there that is focused on formulas, that tells people, here's the blueprint, here's the script, right? And what happens? We end up basically being inundated with all of these bad actors who were handed a script, right? And it's just like, oh yeah, I imagine you just read, you just saw so-and-so's course on how to reach out to somebody at the LinkedIn, like a barfly, and get business from it. And it's just like, you have to think about these things, like whatever the principles are, whatever the concepts are, if you just try to cut and paste or copy whatever somebody is giving you as the formula, right? Or the script, it's not going to feel authentic. It's not going to feel comfortable for other people. And you're just going to waste a lot of time,
And you're going to come away from that going, I tried networking, it doesn't work. I tried relationships, it doesn't work. It's like, well, no, it actually does, but you're going, it's a difference between strategies and tactics in one level. But I love the frameworks over formula. I love that.
Yeah.
That's
so
great.
important. So important.
It is. Talk to me. I love the phrase that you had, and it's on your website, of the keys to to business growth is found in other people's pockets. The way you worded that was great. Unpack that.
Yeah. So in essence, we all have our own set of resources, right? And those resources come from our personal experiences. So in essence, you could sort of imagine them as like keys, right? But the thing is, I may understand how to raise money for a Broadway show. That's a key, right? That's something that some people are incredibly interested in. That's something that some people are like, wow, if I could learn that, that would be amazing. And the reason why they think that's amazing is because that key is not in their pocket, right? And they're staring at that door and saying, oh man, if I could just figure out how to raise money for a Broadway show, right? And the thing is, if somebody in their circle introduces them to me, and then I'm happy to share my experiences of how to do it and how I did it and what worked and what didn't and all of those different types of things, they're going to be very grateful for that particular experience, right? They're going to be able to open that door and make certain things happen, right? Now, conversely, I may be and actually am technically about as inept as you can get, right? Like to the point where I needed a little bit of instruction to even figure out how to make breakout rooms, and I still messed it up when I first sort of, when I first managed it, right? So that is a key I don't have, right? That's something that I do not have. So the thing is, I know other people within my circle, right? And in some cases, those people will handle the technical side or want to handle the technical side, or those people can tell me, oh, you just need to click this button. You just need to change this setting. That's why that thing is happening. And again, to them, it's super, super simple. And the thing is, we have all these things that come to us almost, like just totally naturally. It's like water rolling off a duck's back. It's like the simplest thing in the world.
Yeah.
But to somebody else, our simple is hard.
Yeah.
Right. And the more that we are able to sort of come into the picture and help those people understand the thing that they're missing, understand the thing that they don't have, the more the relationship actually means. And the thing is, like, if you have a strong need, if you have something that you're trying to accomplish, and I introduce you to somebody who can help you with that strong need, who really is kind of a perfect fit, you're going to remember that introduction way more than if I'm introducing you to somebody just because I think that they can sell you on something and I'm going to get, a deal out of it, right? Or I'm going to, have whatever, credibility markers that, come from, sending that person your way. And I think, like, the thing that pops up and why a lot of people say, get into that place of, networking doesn't work and all these different types of things, it's because they don't actually take the time to get to know the people.
Yep.
They just think, okay, this person is going to help me get business, or this person is going to buy my thing. And the fact of the matter is, most of the people that you're going to interact with, especially if you're getting introductions, they are not going to be hot to buy anything, right? They're not in that place. Every once in a while, you'll talk to somebody and they'll be like, wow, what you're talking about is something that I truly need. But most of the time, they're like, you know what? I don't need that thing. I'm not actually interested in that thing. This is this other thing that I need. And you're always going to do so much better in life if you are a resource as opposed to a service provider. Because if you're a service provider, like, I can find a cheaper service provider, right?
Yeah.
I can always find somebody who will do this thing for less.
Right.
But if you're a resource, if in addition to whatever you provide, whatever service you have, you're also somebody who can connect me to other people who can really just make things even better, I'm like, I can't let you go. And I need to spend more on your service because you are just one of these people that is able to bring so much more to my life than just fixing whatever, problem there is.
That's right. Yeah. And you, I mean, golly, you touched on so many things there, but networking kind of in one sense, and I mean, we got to network at one level, but it's like speed dating, right? Hi. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're not a good fit. Hi. You're not a good fit. And it's like, well, all right, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about relationship building of actually courtship, dating, engagement, marriage with partners, and finding those referral partners that become really part of your business strategy long-term. Mm-hmm. And cultivating that. So talk to small business owners, okay?
Yeah.
Most of our audience are local small business owners, financial advisors, attorneys, some are coaches nationwide. Talk to them about the importance. How would they start, because they've got the networking mindset. They go to the chamber events, the BNI events, all of those, which are great.
Yep.
But this is a different animal. Kind of help them. What would be some first steps of saying, okay, how would I even start down this pathway?
Yeah. The absolute best thing that you can do, the thing that if you did this tomorrow, you would instantly increase the number of relationships that you had by anywhere between 50 to 75%. If you just do this one thing, okay? Host your own thing. Just set up an experience in which you know that there are other people who are also in this world of business who are trying to accomplish things, where you say, listen, why don't we get together, meet each other, we don't know each other yet, and talk about the things that we're trying to accomplish, and talk about what ideas do we have for each other.
Mm-hmm.
Because the mistake and the issue that most entrepreneurs face is that they are so close to their business, it is as if they are putting their face up against the TV screen.
Yes.
And if you put your face up against the TV screen, all you can see are colored pixels.
Yes.
So you need people to tell you what's on TV, and most importantly, tell you if you need to change the channel. And I'll say this, referral partners are great, but ideally what you want are what I like to refer to as referability partners.
Ooh, that's good.
And these are the people who will make you significantly more referable. And there's 3 types, easy to remember because it spells the word tap. So you think into sort of tapping into this crowd,
Okay.
right? Translators, angels, and producers.
Okay.
So the translators are the people who are very good at listening to what it is that you do and coming back and making it make sense.
Okay.
These are the people who are able to be like, okay, yeah, you just talked for 15 minutes about the insurance that you sell, but this one sentence is what really matters and what should be on your company's website and how you should be thinking about that, right?
Yep.
And if you're a translator, you need other translators because you're not going to be good at translating for yourself, right?
Yep.
Naturally, right? The next are the angels. And angels are the connectors who are, in essence, talent scouts, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're thoughtful connectors. They're people who say, okay, who's doing something interesting and how do I bring that person to sort of larger levels, right? So they introduce them to podcasts. They introduce them to speaking opportunities. They introduce them to somebody who might say, like, you know what, I'm going to take your ideas, share them with this publisher, and I think you should write a book about this. They're those people, right? Who they see talent and they help expose talent, and they have wide sort of varying networks, and they sort of connect people within that world, right? The last group are the producers. And producers are people who spend time studying an industry. So they're in that industry, but they understand how that industry works. They understand where you should go. They understand where you shouldn't go. They have this like super, super clear understanding of how you could take your concept and blow it up, turn it into like a massive business, turn it into a lot of opportunity, right? So the mistake that most early stage business owners will make is they will look at everybody as a referral partner, and they will turn down or dismiss a referability partner.
Mm-hmm.
And a referability partner and their concepts could be the difference between you struggling for years to get people to understand or know about your business and for your business to completely take off. And I remember in the early stages when you always kind of start out where you're in the networking groups and people come and you sort of do these one-on-ones and all these things. And I will never forget the number of people who would in essence just try to sort of pitch me on their service or ask me for, referrals to particular individuals, when all I would have needed to do was make one introduction and they would have more referrals than they could handle because I knew so many influential people, but they never bothered to get into any of that, right? They never bothered to look at that. So if you are starting out, and you get a bunch of other folks who are also in that phase of starting out, trying to sort of figure this out, and you get those people together and you talk about how do we advance our careers? How do we make things happen for each other?
Right.
You will move so much faster than everybody else who's going to networking meetings and hoping, right? Because so many networking meetings and so many networking gatherings, like I ended up making a rule that if networking was in the title, I didn't go after a while. I was like, if it says networking anywhere in the title, I'm not going.
Yeah.
I'm not showing up.
Love
because
it.
most of these environments are built built in this sort of structure of there are tons and tons of have-nots,
Yes.
right? And only a handful of haves. And the last thing you want is to be in a room where everybody's pitching you and hoping to get business. But basically it's like this like, crazy cannibalistic thing where it's like everybody's kind of eating each other.
It's like it's like a pond of piranha.
Exactly. It's like, what are you thinking? And that's the thing. It's like there's so many better ways to do this. And when you host your own thing, you can curate, you can control it, you can have much more of a structure, you can learn whatever you want to learn. There's so much more that you can do. When you end up just being the guest at some networking event, you are wasting, in my opinion, you're wasting 3 hours of your time or more on the hope that one thing will hit.
Yeah, because next week there's a different guest, but there's always the same host. So when it's your event, somebody told me this years ago, he said, if you're ever in a Rotary Club or something, he's like, that's great, but in the next 2 years, become president, because everybody in Rotary knows the president.
Yep.
The president may not know everybody, but everybody knows them. And that's kind of what you're saying is be the president. Everybody was going to know you, and you're going to be the center point there. You're bringing people around and all that, but you become the known commodity. You become a big fish in a small pond, right? That's
right. And you create your own small pond.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing. Like a lot of the time we try to enter into markets and we try to sort of puff ourselves up, right? And be like, you should pay attention to me. But the market is massive, right? So like we're actually not very, interesting to that massive market. Right. But if we say like, okay, here's a corner of the market, here's a section of the market that's kind of interesting to me, I'm going to gather a bunch of people around and I'm going to share my ideas about that aspect of the market. Well, now people start saying, hey, have you heard about this guy and what he's talking about, or this girl and what she's talking about? And folks come and they gather around you. And that's how you end up building a much, much stronger, very, very effective, powerful community around yourself.
Yeah, it is, because you become, like you said, and you use the phrase, the guy or the gal. And you are a resource, which is what you talked about earlier. And none of those people see you as a salesperson.
Yep.
You're not trying to sell. Yep. You're the guy who I can connect with. And do you know how many people Michael knows? Oh my goodness. I need to get to so-and-so. Michael, here's what I'm trying to do. Could you connect me with so-and-so? And you're probably like, yeah, I can connect you.
Yeah.
Right. Because you have the keys. And it's interesting when you're talking about the keys and the door and all that, the idea hit me, and tell me if I've caught this or not.
Yeah.
So on my doors at my house, we don't have keyed. We have the push button, door lock.
Yeah.
So if you come to my house, I'm going to walk you up to the front door. I'm going to put the code in and open the door and let you in.
Yeah.
But as I build a relationship with you, like our church's small group, community group that comes, I gave them the code. They have full access to my house because I trust them, right?
Yep.
Same thing.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep, exactly. And that's the thing. It's like once you start to develop that relationship with people, they will, if they like what you're doing, if they think that you're doing good things in the world, they'll start to say, yeah, you should come to this thing that I'm hosting. You should be a part of this thing. They'll make intros for you. They will do a lot of things on your behalf.
Yeah.
When they have that feeling that this is a real relationship, right?
Yep. It's hilarious. I'm laughing because I've got one of these building that I'm building that I call my referability partners, I call them Mavens. That's just my word, right?
Yeah.
So I'm building one right now, and I had him on my podcast and we're emailing back and forth, but it's moved from business to personal. He asked me the other day, he's like, so what are you doing this weekend? I said, hey, Jeremy, I'm building a bathhouse for my new pool. He's like, you're doing what? So I sent him some pictures of this little bathhouse I'm building. He's like, dude, I couldn't do that. That's pretty amazing. So I'm just shooting him different pictures along the way. And I said, so what are you doing? He's like, well, I'm sending my daughter to camp this weekend. We're building a relationship through email. Has nothing to do with business. It has everything to do with business, right?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, the mistake that is made most of the time in relationship building is keeping your focus solely on the professional, right?
Yeah.
Because people get bored in many cases with their professions, right? And in some cases, they want to talk about something else, right? And when you start to shift that, there are so many other points of connection, right? So like you may not necessarily connect with what somebody's doing for their business. It may not be that interesting to you. But if the two of you are big fans of hockey, then you might connect over that. That's right? If there are TV shows that really sort of resonate with both of you, you might connect over that. And the thing is, you want to be in the position where you're learning as much as possible about the people that you're getting to know, because it gives you so many more ideas for what would be helpful to them, what would be thoughtful for them.
Yeah.
You know, and that just like, it really just kind of changes everything, because now you're seeing the world through their eyes.
Yeah.
And that is one of the most powerful things you can do.
Case in point. All right. So I've got another Maven in my world, right? And we were at an event together talking about stuff, and he used to own some wineries, and he lives out in wine country, and we were talking about something, and he did something for me. And I thought, I just want to thank him. I don't know what to do. So I went online to this online company and bought 4 wine glasses and had his last name etched in the, just sent them to him and said, just thanks so much. He took a picture of that, sent me back a nice thank you. But it's because I listened in a conversation and knew he enjoyed wine and thought that would be something different and unique. But I've learned, because I've listened, and what you just said is so important. But that's how we build relationships over transactions.
Exactly.
That is really the name of the game.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, so how do people get in touch with you to learn more about what you're doing at Small Pond, to learn more about this whole concept? Where's the best place for them to reach out and just,
sure.
Because I know you got a podcast. Talk about that too, because I went on there, man. You got all kinds of people that you're connected.
Yeah, we've had some great folks on the show. So that's just Access to Anyone is the name of the podcast. It's just AccessToAnyonePodcast.com. And then my company, Small Pond Enterprises, smallpondenterprises.com. And if anybody's interested in learning more about referability specifically, I have myreferabilityrater.com, which basically where you can ask you can answer a bunch of questions, and it will basically help you understand how referable you actually are. And you can sort of break that down on sort of all of those concepts. So any of those places will easily link you to me. And then you can always reach out, and always happy to help in, whatever ways I can.
That's awesome. I'll put those in the show notes. I had the other two. I didn't know the referability rater. That's cool. I created a thing called the credibility calculator, because I'm all about credibility. Very similar probably, but it's helping us understand where we really are and where do we need to work. And so I want people, Michael, just to reach out to you and learn about Small Pond. It's funny, Michael, and it just hit me during this whole thing, is I tell people all the time in marketing, it is much better to be a big fish in a small pond than a small fish in a big pond. But in marketing, most business owners go after the big pond, the LinkedIn, Facebooks, the Google, and the market's massive versus shrinking it to a small pond, but being a big fish, hosting your own event, building relationships, being top of mind. It transforms your business. It's not a purple pill. Doesn't happen overnight. But my question is, how long are you going to be in business?
Yeah, right. Pretty long time, right?
So you're going to need business in a year, 2 years, 5 years. It gets easier when you do it right up front. Michael Roderick can help you learn how to do that. So all this information is in the show notes, smallpondenterprises.com. Just go check him out and learn some more. Man, thank you so much. This has been very great. Love the conversation. And I just, I sit here and go, what can you learn from a Broadway producer. Well, you can learn a lot of things. So I love it, man.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on.
You're welcome. This has been a lot of fun, Michael. Take care, buddy.
Thanks again.